G'day, how you going? Welcome to my channel. Posted up a photo on my Facebook page last night of a container of gold. I got a lot of comments, all good, asking about, how I get the pins out and all that sort of thing. So I thought, right, today we're going to talk about pins, mostly. At the bottom of the scale, you got things like this. Now this is the RAM slot out of a Dell laptop. From this sort of thing, you'll get a lot of this sort of crap. Very low grade, very poor plating, and only partial plating. If I can't find a way of processing this while it still looks like this, I'm not going to bother, because from a kilo of that stuff you might get 3/4 of a gram of gold, and it's just not worth it. But it's not all like that. You get a lot of stuff like this. There's a pen set off off something, I don't know what. It's easy to pull the pins out. There you go. It's a partially plated, it's not fully plated. It's reasonably well plated. That'd go in as a low mid-grade pin, which is worth it. And you get a lot of them. You get a lot of these. A lot of these. Now they are well plated, but that's what's on the back, right? They're well plated for what they are, but they're only about nearly half the pin is plated. They'd go as at a pinch you could call them mid-grade, but a low mid-grade, right? Same as these things. These look lovely when you first see them. Oh, look at all that gold. Yeah, it's nice. Except that when you bend them over, can I get it to work? Maybe. They're only plated, they're not plated on the back of the pin. They're only plated on the front. They're well plated, but as a complete pin, you've got maybe 30% coverage. So they're still, just maybe a mid-grade pin if you look at it with kind eyes. Otherwise it's a good low-grade pin. But then you'll get other stuff like these. Right, I can't remember what it came off. I think it came off the back of a hard drive board. That's good stuff, right? They're not plated right through, but probably 80% of it is well plated. They're good. And then you'll get this. These are female sockets, so you can't see inside there. But when you look at the back of a socket, and you see the pins coming out and attaching to the board are gold plated and well plated, they're worth getting. They're easy to get out. They just pull out like that, and it's a socket. It's not a pin. It's a socket, and they're well plated, really well plated. These go in as high grade. They're good. Another thing you'll get is these things. Dip switches. They're tiny little bloody things. You think, oh, what could you get out of that? Well, the plating on that, on the wires that go to the board, is good, heavy gold plating. Right? It's both sides. It goes right through to the inside, and it's good. And here's one that I prepared earlier. I love that. I don't know how well that's going to show up. It's bloody hard to make this shit show up sometimes. But inside there is gold contacts that are really, really good. They are excellent for recovery. They're small, but for what they are, they yield really, really well. They're good. I suppose the next thing you get would be a thing that looks like that on the board, usually on a motherboard. It's an SD card reader. Oh, well, it's an SD card slot. You plug your SD card into it, I think. I'm no expert with all the shit you shove into computers. But it looks like that on the board. Inside it, you'll see that. Right? Now, if you look at that, whether it will show up or not, but on this particular one, up here, plating is very good. And double-sided. Down here, it's not so great, right? These ones would go as good mid-grade pins. But then you get one like this. Now, I broke this one because I was being brutal with it. I'm a vicious man. This is some of the pins that came out of it. They are heavily plated right through to the bottom. Right? You can see that well, it's showing up as copper. That's interesting, isn't it? It's not. It's gold plated. These bits here are also gold plated. When you look at the frame that it came out of, all of this is heavily plated. This is a good one. But it does show the fact that you've got to check. You can't just assume that they're all going to be the same, because they're not. All right, you've got to check. Another thing you get is these things. This is a plug, you know, shove it into your computer somewhere. I don't know exactly where, but you do. You stuff it into computers and God knows what else. You stuff it where you like. But the metal shroud on them is that hard to get off, right? What you're left with is a whole lot of very lovely, well-plated gold pins. Now, they're not plated all the way through, right? but that's how hard they are to get out. Now, that's plated down to about there, right? So they're only half plated, but they're well plated, all right? So that's a good mid-grade pin. And the next thing you're going to get is things that look like this, right? Now, I don't know what these ports are actually called. I call them telephone ports because they look a bit like the thing on the back of your telephone that you plug the lead into. I don't know exactly what they're called. I'm not a computer expert. I'm electrically qualified. I'm an A-grade electrician. I'm an armature winder, electrical fitter, access permits to work in all sorts of places, and I've worked on all sorts of shit, but not computers. These are mostly found in servers, switches, and IT equipment. You'll sometimes find little baby versions like that on your computer. That's got a phone plug there and 2 USB ports there, right? You'll often see that on your computer, but that you'll find on IT equipment and so forth. Now, the metal shroud around it is all brass. It's tinned brass, but it's brass. To me, it's worth hanging on to. But when you pull them apart, you look at it like that. That's with the shroud taken off. I've already pulled a few plugs out of this one. When you pull them apart, you stuff a screwdriver in there and your lever, and it falls on the floor. Excuse me. I'm back. Now, you just saw me lever this thing out of there, right? It just pushes out easy. Now, I did actually have one that had really crappy pins in it that I was going to show you, but I can't find it. You've got to be careful because the ones on your computer oftentimes aren't much good. They'll have gold plating there where you can see this one's plated, but that's as far as it goes, and it's usually one-sided. They're really low grade. They're not great. These that come out of servers and such, they're gold plated here. They're gold plated here. They're gold plated all the way through to those little ends you can see on the back there. These are where all of this stuff comes from, right? You get 8 of these out of 1 of these. There's 8 of these in 1 of these. That makes 64 wires in total that are all very well gold plated and I consider to be high grade. They're worth getting, but you've got to check because some of them are low grade at best. Just turn away for a minute so you don't see this. It's hot, what can I say? Now, just to deviate away from pins for a second, on almost every power board you'll find relays. That's a relay. This little fella here, that's a relay. This is a relay with external power supply. That's why that's got these two pins here. And this is a relay. This is probably the most common you'll see. It has connectors here on the bottom, so it's fed from the board, as opposed to this one, which is fed externally. Now, if you look at your board and you see a funky looking black box and you think, oh, is that a relay? Turn the board over and have a look. If it's got 4 or 6 connectors, it's a relay. If it's only got 2, it's a capacitor. If it's a capacitor, it's not worth 2 knobs and any go shit, and don't even bother. Just leave it on the board. But when you open a relay up, what you'll see is this. Now, this bit here is a copper coil. There's somewhere between 5 and 10 cents worth of copper on it. Normally speaking, you would say it's not worth worrying about, but for me, because I have plans of casting copper and brass and silver and what have you, so I'm getting a forge, I can throw that complete with the, that little round thing there? Where are we? There. That little round thing, that goes right through the coil, right through to the bottom. If you want to stuff about pulling these things apart to get the copper out of them, you're going to waste your time. But for me, I can throw it with the steel and everything else straight into the forge. The copper will melt. The steel, because, and I believe, I don't know for certain, but I believe it's because molten copper has a higher specific gravity than solid steel, so the steel floats on the surface. You can just scrape it off and throw it away, and what you're left within the crucible is pure copper. So I keep the copper for that reason. But on the other side, you've got these little pins here. Now, bend that one down out of the way a bit. Now you can see on there, that's a little silver pad. You can see in there, up on the side of this plastic piece, you can see another silver pad. And on this piece that moves in the middle, between those two, there's a silver pad on each side. At the moment, I'm not processing silver because I don't need to, basically. But I will when I need to. I plan to use silver for electrolysis, plating of copper and brass and whatever. So, but remember, copper's worth 30 cents an ounce. Silver's worth 22 bucks an ounce. So if you're keeping copper, it's well worth keeping the silver as well. But, more butts than you can poke a stick at. But, not all relays are made equal, right? This is off I don't know, probably a computer. Or something with a power supply, who knows. But not all relays look like this. Some look like this, right? You see through it, it's a little bit bigger, a little more substantial. This is a relay with the cap taken off. Now, on this relay, you've got your copper coil here, which is insulated, so it's got tape over it so you can't see the copper. But what you have here is two sets of contacts. Double contact like what was on the other one. So you've got a contact here and a contact underneath, and you've got this bit here which moves between those two contacts. Take particular note of the colour of this and this, if I can get it to focus. Right, that's not copper and it's not silver. All right. Here's one I prepared earlier. This is the same thing, only I've sort of bent it up a bit. Now, here and here, you have contacts. Under here, you've got a pair of contacts here, right, one on the top, one on the bottom, and you've got the same here, except I've bent this one out of the way because I wanted to have a look at it. Now this contact here and the top contact here, as well as the two top contacts on the switch side, are burnt, right? You can't see what they are. But you can see that that contact there is gold. Bloody hell is it? I'm working backwards. That contact there is gold, and here you can't actually see the contact, but you can see where it comes through the copper, and you can see that it's gold on this side as well. All right, I don't know if you're going to be able to make that out or not. But the fact is, these things have got 6 solid gold contacts in them. They're not gold plated, they're solid gold. Right? These relays and another 8 of them came out of a commercial TIG welder that blew itself to bits. Not all relays are made equal. They're all made equal, but they're not made equal. Some are a lot better than others. All right, you've got to check. Now, that's all cool. That's real good. We'll go back to pins now. And regarding pins, excuse me again. Turn away if you're squeamish. Regarding pins and leads and what have you, I picked up a mountain of cable from an e-waste pickup, had plugs on the end of it. I'm not sure what it came from, possibly something in the mining industry, because there's a bit of sand mining not too far from here. These are 2 male plugs. There was males and females, but many more males. If you look in there, you can see little pins, right? I pulled these apart. Getting them apart is not hard. Simply 1, 2, 3 bites with the side cutters. Peel that off. Peel a bit of rubber off. Cut through there. Just like that. Just cut through it. Pull that out. Pull that beautiful gold pin out. Sometimes the pins will stay in this, sometimes they stay in the other bit. Pull that pin out. That's one that I've cut off. This is the socket. They are beautiful, super high grade gold plated pins. That's how hard they are to get out. G'day! There you go, I'm done. Now, this isn't all of them. Those are the pins. I've got bloody big hands. Look at the size of them. They're 30 millimeters long, an eighth of an inch thick, or 3 millimeters thick. And I've got about, I don't know, 75 grams of them. I would expect to get somewhere between 1.5 and 2 grams of gold from those 75 grams of pins. That's what makes it worth it. That, not the low grade stuff, not this crap. Right? This is just, you know, it's there, get it. Don't throw it away. But a kilogram of these won't yield as much as 100 grams of these, right? That's why I go after pins, because they're not all crap. This is the opposite end of the scale, and it's well worth doing. You don't make a fortune from it, but you'll make good money and you'll entertain yourself in the process. Cheers, thanks for watching, bye now.